So in addition to the 2 videos that were posted, there's an initial half-hour video that explains the essentials of role-based access control using an example in a healthcare environment, or a hospital. And that's just so that you can help use a different example in context. And then the second video that you should use, if I go out here now and we get into Blackboard, what you'll see is the longer one. There's a part 1 and a part 2. And the part 1 and part 2, first one has concepts, and the part 2, the hour-long one, has the step-by-step to follow for your solution, except that it's going to use different user accounts. So this was recorded last year. Let me get this here. And all right, so if you look in module 2 now, inside our resources, in references, you should see the updated, oh, all right, so I have the updated references ready. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these and then put the new ones out. So I'm gonna take care of that right now and just delete and delete. So I added the 1 student learning objective and then the addendum, and that's, I'm gonna take care of that as we speak. And then I'm also going to, in references, add the 444 example. So this document that I was showing you, and the activity and the slides that go with it that explain the role-based access control, it's another reference for you to use, and it's largely, it's document, and what might be easier for you to do is to watch the video and then open the document and just, substitute the appropriate, the group names and the usernames, right? Because this is, you're just going to follow the steps. And instead of having to start, stop the videos, I'm hoping that this is going to be useful, and I'd love it if somebody tries that. So before you begin working with this reference, the companion lecture, RBAC concepts, right? It's a PDF of the slides, and basically it provides the concepts, and then the other document provides the methods, except it's all on paper or in PDF. And the video is structured the same way. Concept video, half hour, step-by-step, 1 hour. Does everybody follow what I'm saying here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna finish, after we finish doing, well, let me go into here and let me show you. I know I did post this. So you can, I put them at the top, and I would like to know from, let's just take a quick poll here. I've been arranging the latest things we've done at the top of the list, and then as you scroll further down, it's further back in time. Because I think that when you get back in the folders, most often when you get back into a module, you're doing the latest thing we talked about. Do you find that you have to dig further down to start and then work your way up to catch up, and it's not helping? What do you think?
I think it works the way it's set up. It's not too much of a hassle. I normally just click into the resource. I mean the module itself and go from there. Okay.
Ladies, what do you think? Thank you for sharing that, Roberto. Does it matter? Does it work for you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right. I guess it depends on the module and how many resources and references are linked. Okay. So now you know what to do for the solution. And now that the final revision of your study guide is going to be posted, just remember you do need to review the stuff from the textbook, right? So you have those slides about hard disks and so on, you know, and then there's the stuff in the study guide, and then these learning outcomes, and the last one will be added here, right? I'll have the assessment out. What I'd like to do is ask you to finish the solution and your first attempt at the assessment by the start of our next class. And in order to make sure that all that flows, I want to be certain, since I'm restructuring the content. All right, so when we went completely online, this course had already been done, and it was in Blackboard, but it was framed on 4 modules. And then when we went COVID and went fully online, I took a course in Blackboard virtual course management, and they got me all jazzed on structuring things in 6 or more modules. So there may be a case where you get a question on the assessment, you're like, wait a minute. And I think there may have actually been a question on the first module assessment that might have been premature because what we're doing is refactoring the content here. So that's one reason why it's taking just a little longer to get this stuff out here. I want to make sure we don't hamstring anybody and you're taking an assessment where you're like, Ken Top didn't talk about this, not in any of the videos, right? What am I saying? I'm saying that the content has been restructured, but the assessments that I'm recycling were based on 4 modules. And I have to figure out which question items or assessment items are mapping to which modules. And that's something I'm doing in process for this course for the first time, because this is the first time I've taught the course during COVID 100% online. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm trying to explain what's going on here with the start-stop, some of the start-stop.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. All right. So what else are we going to do today? I'm going to get on remotely, and in order for you to do your solution, you're supposed to use your CSC. You're supposed to use your CSC MyUVI. See, it says, please review part 1 and part 2 of the extended file system resources with RBAC, and then access your virtual system using your own myuvi.net account. So we want you to set up this role-based access control, not on the local server that you may have installed on your laptop, but on the one that's out in the groovy.net domain. Because when you finish, you will be able to do something very, very cool. In particular, when you finish setting up your solution and you're at the last point and you have all the folders built, when you share out the folders, which is the last step, and it's a slightly different step, and the process you use is a little different, it's in the video, there's a way to automate the login of users on your system so that when they log in, no matter where they've logged in, they will always get the network share from your machine. What am I saying? Roberto is going to go to a lot of trouble to set up his directories, and he's going to set up the permissions for each team, and he's going to set up each home user's folder. And when someone logs in on any of the machines in the domain, if they log into their own machine, if they log into Roberto's machine, it doesn't matter where they are in the domain, Roberto's directories are going to be drive letters in their file explorer. Okay? That's what each of you are going to do in the very next module. So in the very next module, when we talk about persistence part 2, we're going to extend what you've done. And that's a really cool thing. Now, why am I telling you this? I want you to set up the network shares, but you'll notice in the assignment document it talks about additional credit. Just ignore that part. You're actually going to do that for your solution in Module 3. Okay? So we're setting the stage. Now, if you're ambitious and you want to try it because, you know, you just think, okay, this is really starting to get cool and I want to try it ahead of time. If you want to do it for additional credit, you'd like to do the alternate solution for Module 3, then you can let me know. I'm guessing, though, that by the time you finish walking through the steps, that's going to be a significant investment of time. It should take you about an hour, no more than 2 hours after you watch the video. But the video from start to finish takes you all the way. We are going to review a quick network share in a minute when we get on the machine remotely. But then before we close and we end our class and this recording, I want each of you to share your screen, and I want to know that each of you can log into your systems. Okay?
All right.
Okay. So what are we going to do next? I'm going to open a new screen here. I need to log in with my other account so I can access. Let's see. Might be good if each of you tried your CSCRA account right now, just to see if you can log in using your login and password. Remember, you're going to log in, you're going to log out of your Gmail, your own personal Gmail. So if you're logged in on any of your Gmail accounts, you want to sign out. You're actually going to do the reverse of what I'm doing. And then you're going to sign into your myuvi.net account, and that's the first step. Can everybody do that while I'm getting set here, please?
Yes, I did it.
You did. You're already there. How about you, Roberto? Amaya?
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I'll log in.
I'm just about to try.
Okay. Good. So my two machines of interest are Castor and Pollux. I'm going to connect to each of these to see if the virtual machines are running. And it looks pretty good. I discovered a new way to run the virtual machines on the hosts so that they're a little more resilient and less prone to crash. And I get this, especially after power outages, I get this. Yeah, I saw the screen just a moment ago, so I know it's not offline. I just saw it. Okay. So we'll go full screen here. And let me see what we have. For virtual machines. Oh, wait a minute. Doesn't look like anything's running. Who was Vega and Chiron or Mercury?
I'm Vika.
I'm Kyron.
You're Chiron. And who's Vega?
Yes, dear.
Mercury must be Rex, yes? Yeah.
I think Rex has VA something. I don't know.
Okay. So I'm going to try something a little different here. I'm going to start Vega and I'm going to start Chiron. And I'll do the same thing for you, Roberto. It's called detachable start. And And what that means is that this thing's supposed to go on running and running and running, even if I log out or even if the connection's broken. And I think one of the things that may be clipping the virtual machines into a state of dysfunction is that they've been is that the connection and loss of connection across the network with my login is causing an issue. Now I've got all the settings for that system so that it's not supposed to log me out, it's not supposed to time out, and yet when I reconnect the next morning, sometimes it's started up again and the state is restored, except that with the power outage it rebooted, and that's what's been happening. So I do have good news to share. This week I met with representatives of Amazon and the ITS department, and we are in the process of staging a proper server for virtual machines that we think would be in place by January, by spring. So we're going to try to keep working with this arrangement the way it is. And if you notice that there's problems and problems with responsiveness, we can use your IP address where you're connected to the internet. We can open up a firewall and you can use remote desktop. We'll use a pinhole firewall rule. And instead of using Google and MyUVI, you can connect directly with your username and login. And that's twice as fast, and it's very stable and much more responsive. And that's something we could try if you find that the MyUVI connection is an issue. So Vega's up and running, should be good to go. Let's get the other one started. So now we have.
Yeah, I have a quick question. The login was csc.ra. I know mine was 5. What was the ending?
It's at myuvi.net. No, yeah, myuvi.net, yeah. Okay. Is Rex with us yet? I can't tell.
No.
No, he's not.
Okay, there's just 3, right?
The password for CSC, is it not the 900 number?
Ladies, you want to tell him what it is? He's got to substitute his own student ID. Can you help a brother out?
Yeah, I have terrible memory sometimes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Wasn't it virtual with an @ sign, RA?
Virtual at LRA. That is not capital letter. Then the R and the A capital. I will send it to him right now.
Yeah. No, that's right.
All right, got it.
Okay. Oh, same business. Look at this. Well, Google Remote Desktop, Chrome Remote Desktop is secure and it's free. And yeah, it's not offline. I just entered the PIN code. Yeah. Okay. So let's check on Roberto's.
Yeah, mine says offline.
Yours says offline. Okay, yeah, same deal. All right, so we're going to start yours in detached mode also. You're Sirius or Cepheus?
I'm Cepheus.
You're Cepheus. Cepheus or Cepheus?
I think it's Cepheus. I say Cepheus.
Right. And then, oh, that's right. We had the ladies on one and we had the gentleman on the other. Rex was STX Ryzen. Now I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the anime thing. Yeah, I remember now. Okay. Sitting pretty. You should be able to connect now.
Yep, logging in now.
I believe Sirius is Calais. So I'll start. I'm going to send email to Calais. I'll start Rex's. Okay. And I'm going to drop from my remote desktop connections because I think that's also going to help stabilize the situation. So I'm going to minimize this window and close this for now. And then I'm going to just going to lock the screen, stay logged in, and disconnect. And then the same thing on the ladies machine, the host for the ladies. I'm going to lock the screen and then disconnect. So everything should flow from there. Okay. So I was connected to Virgo and I was in the process of finishing the NTFS share level permissions and inheritance. And I wanted to show you quickly the key to setting up the network shares. There's something that's a little different with the network shares. And it's also in the video, so if you don't get a chance to follow along here or you forget it later this afternoon, it's still in the video. So, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to close this server manager because although it's not a bad idea for you to check every time you're in your virtual machine, download updates, just to make sure that if there are updates that are needed, those will load. Oh my gosh, look, there are updates. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that. Oh, cumulative, especially the cumulative ones. Those are the types of things you want to load intentionally. And it says they're ready to install. I'm going to install them now, and we'll still be able to demonstrate this before we have to reboot. So I'll just minimize this for now. And I'll close this screen at this point. But it's one thing to set up access so that people can get into directories that were in home built, intentionally built, custom built for them when they log into that specific machine. But it's a whole new ball game when you can use the same ideas of permissions, and because we're using DNS in an enterprise environment in an Active Directory domain, with a few quick clicks, we can offer those same directories as drive letters wherever and whenever they log in. And that's just cool. What's even cooler is when you automate that process so that when they log in, they just log in, those drive maps are automatically formed or taken down on any machine anywhere in the enterprise. put another way, if you had a Fortune 500 company in 16 countries on 3 continents, and you were an employee there, and you got on a jet and flew to another continent, and then hopped between countries, you could still log in, and your G drive for your group or your team project would still be there. Your O drive for, you know, other resources would still be there. Your H drive for your home directory. I'm just using drive letter conventions that are sensible, right? Maybe there's an M drive for managers, right? It's always there. And you don't have to be on the machine where that directory sits. That's just cool. And that's what the first set of steps and actions we've been doing is setting the stage for. So the NTFS file level permissions, privileges, and inheritance sets the stage for what comes next. Now, here's the weird piece, and I'm calling this a weird piece. What you do to set up NTFS file level permissions and privileges in each directory, you have a certain convention, and then you block inheritance and all that. There really isn't all right, and this is really important to overstate. When it comes to sharing a folder, sharing a directory so that it's a drive letter, inheritance does not apply. The permission that you apply to the network level share, and that's different than a file level share, all right? Network level shares are carried with CIFS or NFS, it's SMB, right? Server message block. Those acronyms mean, oh, you're sharing files. So when you hear SMB, CIFS, or NFS, what we're doing is offering a folder based on groups. Now, in a domain environment, you use the same groups. You can create separate groups and separate memberships for groups on the network, but that kind of defeats the whole purpose of an enterprise environment with Active Directory, with centralized security account, and all of the trouble that you went through with role-based. But what's counterintuitive is that where you're taking a great deal of care when you're setting up the NTFS permissions to minimize the access for only what's needed, when you set up a share for the drive letter, what you have to do is set the level of permission on the network for the highest level of access that's required for any of the subdirectories inside. So what do I mean? Well, let's give you a quick example. Let's make sure that, who did I set up already? I've set up Roberto's, right? Haven't I got yours good to go? Almost?
I believe so.
Yeah, advanced. Oh, but I haven't changed the ownership, right? Okay. All right. So I have the right user group, yes, read and execute. And I have modify, but really and truly, we want a case where everybody that's in the STT users group can read and execute stuff that's in Senor Terrado's directory, but we don't want them to change it. We don't want them to modify it. So once again, and that includes the administrators, right? So I'm going to finish the process that I was demonstrating last round. I'm going to change the ownership here while I still have access, while I myself still have access. And I'm going to remove this, okay? Because the instructor shouldn't be able to modify, right? So when I click this up, all right, it's saying I can't. What do I need to do?
Disable inheritance.
Yes, disable inheritance. Thank you. So I'm going to disable inheritance. I'm going to convert the inheritable permissions because I don't want to ruin all the stuff I have set up. I don't want to remove them all. I got to remove this because that's the teacher's account. T-Kentop is the instructor account. Now this is my administrative account that I'm using to set all this up. So while this is still in effect, I'm going to change the ownership for Roberto so that all of this folder and any children that result from this folder or directory are also going to be owned by Roberto. So I'm going to change this. And oh, it's going to say, do you want to save changes? Yeah, okay, we'll save changes at this point. So we're going to get into here. And come on now. All right, so here we are. I'm going to change this to, no, this isn't right. This is clicking on the wrong thing here. Screen is supposed to look different. I click here. No, it is. All right. Arturado. I'm changing the ownership. But notice there's a new checkbox. So when I change the ownership to Roberto, for his folder, Arturado, I want to check this box. And again, I'm going to do this. Apply. Okay. 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 And I want to go all the way out, and then I want to go back in, and the last thing I want to do is close the door and remove my stuff. So at the end of the day, what I have is a directory that belongs to Roberto. He has modified privileges. Everybody else can read and execute. Mine is not in there. So I'm going to remove myself. And the moment I do, my access is going to change. And the only way that I can get back in there is if I take ownership, which is an automatic log entry in the operating system logs. And normally I would want to associate that with some kind of contact with Roberto and say, Senor Tirado, you asked me to help you with a problem. I'm this level of support. I'd like to get into your directory. Do I have your permission to access your directory? And then Roberto provides some level of permission where he says, okay, yeah, let's share a screen together. I want to see what you're doing. And then as soon as support is finished, they close the door and they remove themselves, and then they keep their job and Roberto keeps their job and nobody's in their Kool-Aid. So all this misconception about, oh, you have to leave administrators in there. No, you don't. Oh, you have to make the user an administrator. No, you don't. You don't have to give the keys to the castle to every Larry, Curly, and Moe that goes there. That's going to be a Three Stooges fest. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, so I'm going to check this box because I want this to take effect to anything that Roberto creates. I'm going to turn on inheritance from this point. He's already the owner of anything else that's created in that folder. I'm going to apply. I'm going to say yes. And all of a sudden I see a change, and that's a good sign because my access is disappearing as I'm backing out. And then when I go back in there again, now I can go in there if I'm a member of a group or not. Look at that. What do you suppose happens if my login with domain administrative access clicks continue? It adds my permissions back in there again. I'm going to cancel out of that. If I try to right click and go to properties, I'm like, what is going on? Oh, I must have read permissions to view the properties. I can't even view the properties. I go to advanced. Oh, I can't even see who the owner is. But if I used good role-based access control principles, I should see when I get in there that Arturado is still the owner, right? And let me tell you, most administrators and system, network management folks and system admins, they don't like using this method because they like to get into screens and not have stops and not have to ask permission and all that. But it's a best practice. Okay, everybody good on that?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to click OK or cancel and get out of there if my screen will change. And I'm going to set up a share on 410. And here's what's going to happen. Instead of using the security tab, I'm going to use the sharing tab. And I'm never going to use this share option because it's like the initial option for security. It's the quick and easy, but it's like lobotomized. You don't have all your options. You want to click advanced sharing all the time, all the time, all the time. If you get a wizard, you're in the wrong place. You should get a box where you have to manually set things. I'm going to hide this share on the network because I don't want it to be seen. I'm going to add a $sign to the end of the name. And that's going to share the directory, but in a hidden manner. And then I'm going to change permissions. Oh, hello. Yeah, this is where the operating system that Microsoft gives to everybody, they design, oh, everything just works. That's because everyone has read privileges for every share, even if it's hidden. I don't want that. Any more than I want just plain users in there for other directories. I'm gonna remove them. And I'm gonna add the CSC 410 group. Now, the instructor is one group, so the CSC 410 instructor, T-Kentop, is in that group. I'm going to use the class, the whole class, the whole group for the class. I'm going to say OK. And here's the part I want you to understand. If I say read, and then somebody connects to 410, and then they navigate into their team folder, and then they navigate into their home folder, they won't be able to do anything but read in their own home folder. And they'll go, I don't have permissions. That's because the network share permissions, see, if we match network share permissions, like we did in the NTFS file share, the file level permissions, if we match those same levels, then when people get into their own home directory, they can't make changes. So they want to connect to the class directory, and they want to have a class directory called O for OS, operating systems, right? And the problem there is that if I do this way, when you get to your own home folder, you won't be able to do what you need. Intentionally, you shouldn't have to navigate down into your home folder. We want you to just get into the CSC stuff on the O drive, and then we want to create a T drive for the team, which is STT users or STT, and you get into that one with different level permissions. And then we want to create another share, network share, on each person's home folder that we connect to that has modify or change permissions. So it's a best practice to leave the levels lower, but then you get a lot of complaints. And the workaround, a lazy workaround by most IT people, is to go, okay, well, I don't want to hear it. When they call on the help desk, I'm going to click change. Which means that if the NTFS file level permissions fail, people that access this across the network can modify or change. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not really. So if I want to demonstrate, this is what most IT people do. I'm going to demonstrate best practice, and I want you to understand the effect. So in most cases, if you want just one drive letter for the class directory, and that's all you have, then you would check change, because that's the only way to get into the entire directories, subdirectories, sub-subdirectories, home folders, right? What's a best practice is to set up 3 separate drive letters, one for the class, one for the team, and one for the home folder. And you do this instead. And when people call on the help desk and they go, I can't change stuff in my home directory. Well, how are you getting to your home directory? Are you getting to it from your O drive? That's the class directory. Those are no. Open your H drive. That's your home directory. That's mapped to your home directory. Can you now? Oh yeah, there we go. See, they're in the wrong drive. And that's a user training issue. So it's a best practice. I just wanted to share that with you. Are there any questions about how, I'm gonna leave this read. I'm gonna apply, and okay, and close, right? So how do you map? How do you do a drive map? Let's do that real quick. I have 2 minutes. Is everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
So let's connect drive letter O to my CSC 410 folder, the one that's now shared across the network. Now, even though I'm sitting on this machine, I'm going to connect to myself. You would do the same thing. I'm going to select the computer tab after I select the system. And then I'm going to hit the pull down map network drive. And then I'm going to type, I'm going to pull down to O instead of Z. O for operating system. And then I'm going to use the server name with a // and the share name with a $. I'm going to leave this checked, and then I'm going to hit finish. Okay, so here we go. Virgo. In a domain, I would go as far as going groovy.net. Right, if I had a fully qualified domain name. And then I'm going to put CSC _ 410 what? $. I'm going to connect. Finish. Aha. So a screen opens up. Oh, and it says, I don't have permissions to access. Oh, man. Why is that? Because I'm using T Christian. That administrative account, is that a member of the CSC 410 group?
It is not.
It is not.
Nope.
No. No, it isn't. But if I close this, and then I disconnect this, and then I say, okay, I'm gonna do this again. And I'm gonna go ahead and map a network drive. I think T Christian is a member of each of the team groups, but let's see what happens. Or I think they're a member of the CSC 410 group. We'll find out. Hit a / CSC 410 _ 410. Now this time I'm going to check this box right here. And I'm going to click finish. It should prompt me for a password to log in with a different credential. And I'm going to use tKentop, which is the teacher credential. And I'm hoping I'm remembering the password. If this doesn't work, it's because I don't remember the password. Oh, all right, let me try another one. Notice I can check the box that says, remember my credentials. Okay, those aren't it. I'm gonna have to reset it. Anyway, you would put your password, you would put a password in there and then you'd connect and then you'd have a drive letter. Any questions before we clear?
Nope. So you said you want us to do the solution and assessment before Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Follow the documents and follow the videos. I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording. And if you're along for the ride,